Hey, welcome back to Milton Daily Homes. Chuck here. We got a list of 28 properties from the Toronto board. We've got 5 from the Oakville Milton board. They used to share information, they don't anymore. So now we've got to pull from the 2 different systems. But the advantage for you is that you get the information faster, because a lot of times when that information goes to the public sites from each one of those boards, there's a delay in information. So let's get to today's list, and we really just try and interpret. If you've just joined us, we try and give you some information you may not find anywhere else, is things between the lines on these listings. So 20th Side Road is at 1.245. It's about 100 acres. That's the majority of the value on this one, is really the land, but you can see the wainscoting. It looks like they've taken good care of this home. Hard to get a good sense of this one. The pictures aren't exactly high resolution, and I'm not sure how big the house is. It says 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, so obviously you know that the land is really the thing that pushes this one into 7 figures. Ennis Clare has been listed before. It's at 1.86, and so it's got this sort of French bohemian look, and so that can really narrow your audience, because if you're not into that thing, then excuse me, it's a lot of work to fix that. But if it is, we always say is you only need one buyer, so it's just finding that buyer. This looks like almost something from a movie. It's a little overgrown on the driveway. I don't know if that maybe ruins the appearance a little bit, but the photos are not where they need to be, I don't think. I've seen this listing before in the past, and it really showed up well. This one, there's a gazebo in it. It's lovely, and you're just not seeing a lot of that stuff with these photos. So your first showing is online. You have to make an impact, and they talk about 30 gallons per minute or whatever water flow. Doesn't really matter. 28 zone sprinklers doesn't matter, because all you want to know is my grass looking good? And someone in this price range, you could hire someone to water your lawn if you really want to. So about 10 acres. I just don't think the images are there, and you have to have that. You have to be good on images, because people will just flip right past it. So we've got Koskin here at 314.9, and you can see that they've got an August 21st possession date, which means there's probably a pretty important reason for that. You've got 9-foot ceilings, hardwood floors. It's a nice looking place. We've got a Parisian theme, I guess, today for some reason, and you're backing onto the green space there. So it's very nice. That's your view. Very calm, very peaceful. The one on the first floor, which is a little bit bigger, but it's got that stigma of first floor, is listed higher than this, and it's already sold conditional after a week. I wouldn't be surprised if these guys got the same result. There's demand for this building, and the unit itself looks really, really nice. And as a bonus, you've got 2 parking spots, which is very, very, very in demand. Nadlin Heights is at 319, and it is an Ashfield or a Cherrywood model, about 1051 square feet. And you know, there seems to be a glass ceiling on these ones at 320. There's been a couple that have sold past, but they've almost been high, and then they dipped for a bit, and now they've come back because there's not a lot of supply out there. But 319 is probably the price where you put these. It's kind of a no-brainer. You've got 1380 Koskin at 334, and there's been ed units that have sold not that far off of this price, so I don't think that they're completely out of range. I mean, I look at something like this, 334.9. You've got $120 in condo fees, and you don't get a lot for that. I mean, let's be honest. You're not paying for your heat or your hydro or anything like that. There's not a lot of common elements. I mean, there's some grass and stuff like that, but that's $120 a month is like paying an extra $20,000 on a mortgage. So at $354.9, is this the best deal I've seen, with 2 bedrooms, with no real backyard, and oftentimes only 1 parking spot? I just think that there's better value. I've said this a lot with these ones, is I wouldn't pay more than probably $310 for something like this, because I know what else you get. I know how much it costs to live in something like this. It just doesn't make sense to me. So Main Street Unit 210 is at 345.9, and so we've got a 2-bedroom, 2-washroom, right in line with what this is 1025 square feet, but right in line with around the 1,000 square foot units and what they've been selling for. 9-foot ceilings, nice finishes. And your condo fees are $95. So you're telling me in a 1,000 square foot condo with amenities, it's actually higher than, you know, than one that doesn't have anything at $120. It doesn't. It's amazing. Now this building is a net zero building. Solar panels. You've got a lot of stuff that helps you with the bills. The building really pays for itself essentially. Geothermal heat and all the rest of it. So Green Life, fantastic building. and that one gets a thumbs up. It's right in range. Although there's been one that's kind of hovering about around the 330 range that hasn't been selling. So let's see what happens. We've got Dredge Court. We talked about how that name really doesn't bring up, to me, it doesn't bring up good feelings. Dredge is something you do in shallow water to get dirt out or something like that. So 354.7. It is a 1356 square foot home, so it's a 3-story Mattamy home with a single car garage, no real backyard. And then you've got this one for $100 more, which is the same thing on Faro Point. And so exact same model. Doesn't look like there's hardwood in here. It's the 3-bedroom. The 3-bedrooms get a slight premium on price, but the value is more reflective of the size of that actual property itself. So the size of the unit tends to correlate much better than the number of bedrooms. So Collis Court is 369. It's a croft side, 2-car parking in the driveway. You've got hardwood floors, and it's nice and simple. There's nothing fancy to it. You've got some California shutters, which is nice. It's a nice property. 369 is a great price. They should do really well. Heslop is 399. It's a bungalow. It's a corner, so it's 101 by 63. It's got a carport. Mostly original condition. It says the kitchen's renovated. Maybe we have different definitions of renovated, but anyways, it's all right to me. There's 2 bedrooms on this one, which may hold back a little bit. Price might be a little bit high on that. So Donnelly is at 409, semi-detached. You've got a kitchen overlooking the family room, and then you have a dining room off to the side of the kitchen. And you can see that right there. That's basically your living space. It's just on this floor here. Usually these are about 1,600 square feet. And that part of Donnelly probably backs onto Louis St. Laurent behind. Eventually there's going to be homes. There's subdivision homes here. I don't know, because you're so close to James Snow, if there's going to be any commercial influence. That's something that you can check the zoning maps to figure out. It looks like there's 1 full bathroom upstairs on that one too. So Holly Avenue is a Castlegate corner. I think it's around 1,800 square feet. It's got a really nice floor plan, and I would say it's pretty competitive. That might be a little bit bold. The color choices, the different checkerboard designs in the floor. I don't know if that's gonna make anyone fall in love with it, but the thing with those models is they haven't been selling as quickly as they used to. So there's been some people that have had to drop their price down to try and generate more interest. Mowat Lane is at 418.8. It's a townhouse. Now it's got, I think it's just over 2,000 square feet of living space, including the basement. They've got some granite countertops, but the location on Mowat is very tricky because it backs onto Main Street. So there you go. There's some of your fencing on Main Street. I get it that the yard's decent, but you've got 2 front doors. Main Street's very, very busy. You've got 156-foot property, so you know that the yard is actually a lot bigger than most of them. I'm having a tough time with it. I have a tough time with this area in general. Well, these types of homes, I should say. The area is great because you're close to everything. But the backing onto Main to me is a deal breaker. But there's a buyer for every house. So Kavanaugh is at 419. It's a Hillsview end, so it's 1,510 square feet. It looks like it's been renovated pretty well. Hardwood stairs. You've got your glass shower in the ensuite. So there's a 3-piece ensuite, and you've got a 4-piece main bath upstairs, and laundry upstairs too. So 419. It's not a deal, but we have seen that there's been good sales for that model too. I wouldn't be surprised if it definitely sold in the 410 to 420 range. Kearns is at 424.9. Now it's a semi-detached, about the same size as the previous one, between 1,500 and 1,600 square feet. Don't know if it's it looks dated. I mean, the home is probably 11 years old, and you can tell. So the finished basement is a good value add. The lot is a little bit wider, so 32-foot. Mattamy's putting detached homes on 32-foot lots lately, and then you've got 80.38. I can't see this one doing 424.9. There's one on Evans, not far from this one, that actually a few of them have sold closer to the 400 range. So Zielinski is 439. It's a rosewood, 1,860 square feet. You've got a front living dining room. You've got an open concept kitchen. That's an upgraded kitchen with the island here. and it looks like they've upgraded some countertops. You've got a bit of bold color in the kitchen. Now it says it's a pie-shaped lot, but I really can't see pie-shaped. That looks a lot like the normal size property for something like this. 439, we've got the bigger ones that have been selling up in the 450 range. Smaller ones have been going for maybe a little bit less, so it's not way off the mark, but they might just be a touch high. Cedar Hedge is a 1742 square foot home. It's called a Pilgrim model. Mattamy built it. It's 454.9. Lately, we've seen some of these older homes that are a tad bigger that are listing around this price. But again, I don't think they're that far off. That's what you pay for a 1700 square foot home, and it looks like you might even have double wide driveway. You might even be able to park 2 cars side by side, which you can often do on this model because the garage is flush with the rest of the house, so it gives you a little bit of option there. And it's the 4-bedroom upstairs. There's also a 3-bedroom with a larger laundry room. So this is the 4, and then they moved the laundry downstairs. Alexander is 479. Really entry point for a double car garage right now. 4 bedrooms. It does back onto James Snow, but there's a bit of separation there with a ravine, and you are 2 doors down from a condo that's going to be built. I believe it's the 4-story ones like you see on Main Street there and at Maple Crossing. 101 foot lot. I'm surprised this one hasn't sold. I think they were at $499 before. So Duncan Lane is at $44.9. It's more than 2,000 square feet. It looks like a mid-August possession day. The wainscoting in here, it's definitely in good shape. I mean, you've got the 9-foot ceilings. It doesn't feel like a townhouse or semi. It says it's a link because it's linked by the garage only, but it's still attached housing. So we look at it and say, okay, is it really a semi? Is it really a townhouse? Probably the closest thing is a semi-detached. So 484. It's decent. I could see somebody certainly paying for that. We've seen some of the semis in that range definitely go in the higher 4s. So Prince is at $499, $376. They dropped the price on this one. You've got some extra additional space on this, which makes it a little bit more valuable than some of the bungalows, which are usually selling in the $420 to maybe $450 range. Now, $499 still might be a little bit high, but it is pretty close to downtown. And it's on a 66 by 132 foot lot, so it is a good lot for development down the road. I think I share the opinion with a lot of people in town that downtown Milton is really going to be like the sort of south of Lakeshore, Oakville. It's going to be probably the most desirable place to live in the entire town, especially as things start to grow, because they're not making 66 by 132 foot lots anymore. They're just not. So to build a custom house, to do those things, that's your option, especially if you don't want to be out in the country. So Bower and Creston is $519. It's a Powell model, and so it's the one with the vinyl siding, but you've got a balcony upstairs. About 1,900 square feet, and the kitchen looks pretty good. You've got your media little niche thing. You've got some wainscoting. It's been taken very good care of. It is a bit high. I mean, this would probably break the record for this model, but it's nice. So you've got the basement there. Everything is done extremely well. Donnelly Street is at $519. It's around the same size. It's a little bit smaller than the previous one. It's about 1,850 or 60 square feet. And again, very, very good shape. You've got the added bonus of having a bit of a corner property. They're fighting a head-to-head battle. I don't know if either one is going to get this kind of price, but we have seen stuff that sold that's probably a couple hundred square feet larger than that around that price range with the single car garage. So $554 for this one here on Farmstead. It's nice, but a very similar, a little bit lighter color, but similar upgraded home is for sale for $20,000 cheaper. So I'd be very surprised if these guys got $554.9. It's about 1,900 square feet, and I believe it's a 4-bedroom. So Scott Boulevard is at $599. Very similar in size, actually, in fact, a little bit bigger than the Chester model, which we've seen by Fieldgate, which is sold many times in the high 5s. And this one has some nice upgrades. It's a Heathwood home. If you check the layout out, it's got a good flow to it. I like the finishes here, and they should do pretty well. You've got a nice sized piece of property, 2 pie-shaped lot, double car garage, bit of a split level, which is different than the usual home that you'd see. So it's good stuff. 3 bedrooms is the only thing that may just hold this one back, because when people are paying $600, a lot of times what they're doing is moving up and they need more space, which means oftentimes 4 rooms, even if they're smaller. Now, Morley, I think, is one of my favorites of the day. It's actually a really, I think, a good deal. 50 by 120 foot lot. You've got an in-ground pool, 4 bedrooms, and they've got this HDR photography, which is sometimes hard to tell. It's hard to really see the real finishes if it goes too much on the exposure. But you've got what looks like nice kitchen cupboards, hardwood floors, some French doors. You've got a brick-mantled fireplace. It's all working for me. Finished basement on this one. Very, very popular. This is a classic move-up home in Old Milton, and it's in a great neighborhood on a quiet street. So Holloway is at $679, and so it's around the same size as the one we profiled a couple homes ago. It's just sitting around 2,400 square feet, and it's okay. Like, to me, the kitchen doesn't look, it's not one of my favorite kitchens that I've seen in a Heathwood home, but you've got your finished basement. You've got some lookout windows there. It looks like there's no fence in the backyard, and it fronts onto a park. So you get value for the finished basement at $679 with 3 bedrooms on this one. I think it's a little bit high. You've got Earl Crescent at $724. It's a Tothberg model. And so, one recently sold up in the high 7s with a pool and a pie-shaped lot. And then they've got the open staircase to below, which is a nice thing, partly finished basement there. And they're also a nice quiet street too. So this probably isn't that far off. We've seen even the basic model sell for probably $650, $660 recently. Cusick is at $849. I don't know if I love the finishes and the upgrades in this home. It does back onto green space, and it's got a pie-shaped lot with a wider backyard. I still think they're a little bit high on their price. They were up, I think, close to 9 or over 9, and I thought there's no way that's going to happen. It says 3,800 square feet, but it's actually 36 of actual usable floor space. Now we'll move to the Oakville list, and we've got 5 properties. So the first one up is Bar Crescent. One just listed $15,000 higher than this one and sold within a couple days. So I'm quite confident that this one is a good deal based on a lot of information. We've seen even this model a couple months ago sold for as high as $420 without a finished basement. So this is one to definitely scoop up. I don't know if there's something going on with it because it's been listed before. But I think that it's a really, really strong deal. And you look at what you get for townhouses for that size. You're getting a semi almost for free. You've got this one on Jesse here. It's a little close to the train tracks, so you're probably going to hear the train noise. Now, it's a rural bungalow. It's got I don't know how much usable land. That might be one of the hardest things on this one, is that if you have kids, like, can they really go in the backyard and play and throw a ball around, or are they just going to tumble down the hill? It looks like there is some flat space down below, though, so it might be okay. It's hard to tell from the pictures. Nice big deck, nice high trees in this area. It's got a good feel for what's around it, and the home itself looks like it's in decent shape. There's some dated parts. The parquet obviously looks a little bit dated, but you can oftentimes refinish and resand, and it looks quite nice. And there you go. So it's all right to me. I think $619 is pretty close to what you'd expect to pay for a bungalow in that area. We've got this one on Britannia. It's 150 by 150 lot. It's got a double car garage. The thing about this, though, is Britannia is now 2 lanes. It's going to be 6 lanes. So I don't know if they're going to take land away from these guys, but you're basically, it reminds me of that Bugs Bunny cartoon where they built the highway right around his hole, and there's going to be a lot of action around this one. I don't know if it would be my favorite place to live. Something about the busy road for me is just not a real zen state. If you live close to one and you're okay with that, that's fine. For me and for a lot of the clients that I work with, they have a real tough time with it. So $559, I don't know if I would offer anything for it. It just doesn't have value for me, but that doesn't mean that there's not a buyer out there that would see the value. Highway 7 is at $709. Nice open concept layout, and it's got a little bit of modern finish. I don't know if that was intentional, that they had the 2 different color cabinets. To me, it almost looks like unfinished. I think that the kitchen should just be one color. So pot drawers, lots of space there. You've got some windows that look like they're new. You've got a nice high palladium window. The fireplace in the center, I think, is a nice feature. And it looks like it's in good shape. I mean, it's a little far north up at Highway 7. I mean, when you're talking about shopping for a home in Milton, to go up basically closer to Acton and Rockwood, it's a bit of a hike, and so the price starts to feel the effects of being a little further out. But it's nice. It's got a lot of things that people look for: the mature trees, the renovated kitchen, and then you've got this one in Keene Hill, which is in Moffat. And so it's dated, $889. I mean, I think about what it would cost to put the upgrades into this one to make it a little bit more modern. You say you'd probably blow 100,000 really fast. And then are there homes that you'd rather buy for $1 million that are already done that way? And I'd say, probably. So for that reason, this one might be a little bit high. The blue countertops, I mean, things like that. When people are writing a check for $900,000, you've got to emotionally appeal. Same as what we talked about at the start of the episode. I mean, people are really saying, like, what's in it for me? WIIFM, what's in it for me? So you got to kind of tickle them. You got to bring them forward in the process. And oftentimes you do that with just having good pictures, having nothing offensive that someone goes, ooh, when they see the pictures or when they see it in person. So that's the list for today. Thanks for hanging in. I know it was a big list, and we'll see you tomorrow with more Milton Daily Homes.